There are a couple of things in it that probably you'll want to be talking about. But before we do that, I thought I would ask our student videographer to say a word about herself and how she learned to do what she's doing and what her plans are. So introduce yourself. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Melissa Walker, and I'm from Kalinga High School, which I'm not sure if you guys are all familiar with Kalinga, kind of in the middle of nowhere. But I was involved in this class. I enrolled as a junior, and I'm a senior now. It's a class strictly for juniors and seniors. It's multimedia/journalism. So I write for our high school newspaper, but I'm also part of, we're called In the News. We have like a weekly news program. And I'm the co-producer. My other buddy, he was the one filming in the very center in the auditorium, he's the other co-producer. And I haven't heard, so my future plans would be, of course, to attend college, but I've yet to hear back from all of the colleges, but it's looking like I was accepted to Cal State Fullerton, and it's looking like that's probably where I'm going to go. And I would like to major in communications. So.
Did you take any college courses in high school?
I didn't. I didn't take any college courses in high school, but I was in AP, which counts as a college course. So yeah. So I'll take that. Yeah, some of them don't count it.
Okay, so it would take way too long for everybody to introduce themselves, but I'd love to hear just a little bit about who's in the room, so I'm going to just sort of randomly ask a few people to say what your name is and what role you play to start out with. And then what I want to do is really just see what kind of experience there is in this room with 9 through 14 pathways. We heard a little bit about some really excellent work going on on the panel. So I just want to hear where you are, because I think the most useful thing we can do today is in the spirit of what I think the RFA is going to ask you about, try and help you figure out what the next steps would be if you were going to build really more robust, aligned career pathways. So that's what we're going to try to do. We don't have a lot of time, so we'll see where we get. Okay, so who are you?
My name is Lance Tullis. I work for California Consulting. We're a grant writing firm here in the Central Valley.
Interesting.
My role is to take your information down to the ground level and work it out in a grant application.
We always dream about grant writers. And I work in an organization with 90 people completely funded by philanthropy and state contracts. We've never used a grant writer because we never think that we can communicate our ideas, but I bet you're great. Okay. with the turquoise.
Jill Rojas, Principal Visalia Adult School.
Okay. So we have a grant writer adult school, not who I expected. Who are you?
Roberto Gutierrez, Principal of Orange Grove High School.
That we did expect. Okay. And over here, how about you?
Sure. Good afternoon. My name is Tamika McGlon, and I'm the Senior Practice Associate of Linked Learning at the Education Trust West, which is a research and policy advocacy organization with a focus on equity in the linked learning context. And I have the honor of not only working with the Porterville team, but the other districts and the Linked Learning Initiative, as well as the scaling effort for AB 790.
We may need you because one of the interesting things is what's the data telling us about career pathways. And I'm going to go over some early college data. Yeah, I know, she's a researcher. I knew who she was. Okay, let's see, back there in the red suit.
Me?
Yeah, you know her.
My name is Dina Ferretta. I'm a CTE coordinator for Merced Union High School District.
Okay, let's just try one more. You can volunteer because it's really not fair to do this. So how about you with the orange sweater?
My name is Janine Medina. I'm Education Director for Proteus. We're a community-based organization in the Central Valley.
Great. So we really have, let's say that this is a good cross-section, and anybody else who feels a compelling need to say who they are.
I'll just say, because I think I may be the only community college person in the
very good.
I'm from Folsom Lake Community College up near Sacramento. My name is Dale Van Dam.
And what's your role?
I'm a dean.
The Dean of Arts and Sciences?
A dean of about 5 CT programs and a couple of sites.
Okay, great. Any other community college people? Oh, okay, 2 more. Why don't you just, we're love to have you. So
Sure, I'm James Preston. I'm the Dean of Educational Services at West Hills College Lemoore,
Okay.
and have a variety of responsibilities, including CTE. We do have something related here today. We have a middle college high school on our campus.
Oh, fantastic, okay. And back there?
I'm Marla Juliana from Modesto Junior College. I am the Director of Workforce Development, and I work with some of our pathways and tech ed CC programs as well.
Okay. One thing that's, for me, on the East Coast, we don't use this junior college term anymore. Is that it? Yeah.
We do.
We do?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
There's two.
I won't get into the symbolism of that. Okay, so what I'd like to just hear from whomever, what kind of experience is in this room of creating high school integrated pathways with a community college of the kind we heard this morning, and especially if you're doing some form of concurrent enrollment, because basically what I want to see is what the experience is here that you can all draw on as you think about the RFA. Okay.
My name is Ellie Hanagos. I work at Edison High School here in Fresno Unified. Currently we have a partnership with PG&E. We are one of 5 schools that has this partnership through a California Partnership Academy, and we are in our 4th year of implementation. And we have also an articulation with our community college, which our students have the potential of graduating with 11 college units in electronics, and our focus is green energy. So that partnership has also allowed us to provide different opportunities for our students, for those who wish to go for a 4-year track, or if they're interested in exploring manufacturing and the technology that surrounds that. So we have articulated a pathway with Fresno City College that our students are aware of, and we've been
Let me
working
ask you
with.
a question, because there's articulated, these are all language things.
Sure,
So there's
absolutely.
articulated credit and there's concurrent credit. When you say articulated, does it mean that your students only get credit once they enroll? Is it banked credit, or is it transferable anywhere in a public institution?
Great question. Transferable, they receive, at the end of the semester, they actually receive a transcript from Fresno City College indicating the
So that's
person.
concurrent, that's
But
concurrent.
it's,
That's
we
the
have,
dual enrollment
it's dual enrollment, but we have an articulation with them on another piece. But the word articulation, I wasn't
Generally
using for
here,
that.
our articulation is that escrow kind of program. I
Right.
have to go, I have to attend a semester
Right.
in a
No,
state
it's
center
dual
campus
enrollment.
to get credit for most of the other classes in our area.
Okay, I think there are multiple things going on in this state. Up here is the concurrent enrollment legislation that's in here. And when I thought it was concurrent enrollment because the 11 units is the cap for each student.
No, it just has worked out that way.
No, it's also the cap.
No, for us has
Yeah,
worked out
yeah,
that way.
yeah. But, okay, so other people, yeah, go ahead.
I'm Walt Hebron, I teach a media class at Mariposa County High School. We've had an agreement through what's called the OccuTrack program,
Don't know what it is.
local program with Fresno City College, and my students get 4 units of credit through Fresno City College by completing my class. And it's just transcript credit, it's concurrent.
So they get college credit on transcript, and they can take the transcript anywhere.
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
See, and all of the community colleges work differently because at Merced Union High School District or Merced County, actually, our courses are mostly articulated with Merced College, but our students have to pay a fee. And then like he's one of my teachers, he does the work in his class that he's done an agreement with our community college professor, and at the end, they either take an exam or they do a portfolio. It depends on the agreement, and then the student will get the credit. Some of the courses are transferable depending on the unit number, depending on the course number, and some of them are not.
But the students are not required to attend Merced College to retain the credits. They are on a
They're
Merced College
transferable.
transcript that
Correct.
travels with them.
Let's go, there are 1 or 2 more examples if there are any concerns. Yeah.
Richard Breakout from Eastside Union High School District in San Jose. We have articulation agreements are all over the place. We have 3 different kinds with 4 community colleges. The first one is a prerequisite. So if a student completes the course with a grade C or above, they can waive certain prerequisites so they're not bogged down in the beginning courses. We also have a dual credit in which the students receive credit on their high school transcript as well as a community college transcript, and they're not bound to go to any one of the community colleges. And then the fourth one is the third one is a concurrent enrollment kind of a scenario, okay, where the community college person comes to the high school and teaches the class, okay, and that's a concurrent enrollment. And we're currently looking to articulate right now with Cal Poly Pomona for what he said. Oh yeah, for enrollment priority. So if the student completes our pathway, then they'll get priority enrollment at Cal Poly School of Engineering.
Okay, critical issue is the new priority enrollment rules that have just been passed as part of the Student Success Act, and how those will or will not apply to high school students. So can I just, for those of you who aren't in this sort of arcane world of dual enrollment, just bear with me for a moment, because it's going to be critical when you do your proposals that you know what the constraints are, and that you're willing, I believe, to say, even though there are these constraints, we're going to figure out what the vision is and work on what the barriers might be. So the priority enrollment registration now says that for entering students who have a pathway chosen and attend assessment, they will have priority. It's not going to be just the students who have the most credits, which made some sense, but really shut out all the younger students. So could you say a word about how you came to an agreement about priority for high school students? You're working on it.
We're still in conversation. Basically, we have an engineering pathway that is part of the Project Lead the Way, and our teacher attends Cal Poly Pomona each year. Okay, and so his conversation has been with the dean, and he has, we've done some correspondence and a couple of emails. So we're working on trying to get that articulation agreement put together so that those students, of course, they have to have all the requirements.
Yes.
And so we're still working on that.
Okay. So let's do this. Let's take a look at. This is the Pathways to Prosperity set of definitions for 9 through 14 pathway. I'm not saying this is what's going to show up in the RFA, but I don't think it'll be very different from this. So what I'd like to do is spend a little bit of time just saying a word about what these principles look like, and then think about what the barriers are that you need to figure out how to overcome if you're going to develop pathways like this. Kind of an interesting mind experiment from this morning's panel, which I thought was extremely strong, the panel with Porterville and the other two districts, was I was asking myself, okay, given what they've done already, what would be the vision of the next steps that would bring them closer to a regional pathways system? So let's just take a quick look here. I think you're going to see that, number one, you're going to be thinking about serving a broad range of students, not just at-risk students, and I think the principle behind that, and you heard some of that this morning, is that many more students than we actually give the opportunity would flourish and feel more engaged in an applied learning situation. Second thing you heard was integrating academic and CTE across community college. That linked learning is all about doing that. Who here is in a linked learning district? These folks here. Okay. Anyone else who in a high school that is integrating CTE and academics in some interdisciplinary or project-based way? You haven't told me. You want to give us an example?
We recently enhanced our medical pathway with a U.S. history class of medicine and also a foreign language class, Spanish for patient care. So
students are getting language credit as well as getting a history of medical profession
Yeah, they're getting,
or context.
the US class,
Yeah.
they're getting both, they're serving the graduation requirement by US history,
Mhm.
and then also getting the CTP.
Do you want to say, one of you over here on the Leap Learning side, say a word about the design of integrated pathways, what that looks like? Either Keith or whoever.
I defer to the experts.
Okay.
Well, again, I mean, the students will only earn.
Talk to these
The
people,
students
because
will
they've got to
only
do
earn
the work.
credit in one course, of course. And so if they're taking English, they're, you know, the whole vocabulary, the language development, history, research will all be about that particular career theme, or at least it's supposed to be what happens. They're doing math and all that, so it's the integration of all the core subjects with that career theme to make sure that everything they do, you know, is, you know, all the writing assignments, you know, maybe it's technical writing if they're in more of a technical area, of
Yeah.
course. If it's medical, then it's, you know, they try to write medical terms and vocabulary and such. So it really is integrating all that. And then when it comes to the tying over with higher ed, that's the piece that we're still developing, and that's a lot of why I'm here today to get it.
Yeah, I would say that in California, let's just go back. You heard from Eric Barba this morning about early college, but there are, okay, so this looks like what the start is in California. So a lot of partnership academies, about 42 early colleges, and I would suggest if you're interested in a full integrated model, you might want to take a look. There's actually a website called earlycolleges.org with lots of information on it. It's just, our organization was the national intermediary for early college for about a decade, so we have put the website together. Linked learning districts, so these are just resources that might be useful to you as you're thinking about designing really integrated pathways that go 9 through 14 and are more than a random selection of college courses. I would also suggest, if you're looking for resources, the Connect Ed California website has incredible high-quality resources. Many of you probably know them already.
Yes, ma'am.
Probably the best in the country. Lots and lots of foundation investment in high-quality resources. Okay, so let's just go back again to the principles here. The other things that I think are important here is you'll have to decide as you're designing these pathways, which I think are going to require you, or you will get more points if you have a college, high school integrated curriculum, how many credits you want. JFF, my organization that's worked on this for many years, we used to say, and the early college model was that the schools were designed so that you could do a full 2 years associate degree while you were in high school. And I'll show you a little bit of data in a bit, but we sort of, our view was, what you want to know is how many college courses and which ones are the best assurance that a young person will go to college and complete. And so we've really been talking about 12 credits. Too bad you just in time, we're going to talk about all the barriers, and then you can write them down. And then we can talk about them. What I really think is useful is the biggest stumbling block, as you probably know, for young people staying in college is passing the first math course. So we highly recommend that you work with your local community college to get young people ready for or passing a college math course before they complete high school. That means then they skip all the sinkhole of remediation. And you probably know the data, but a very small percentage of students who fall into the remediation trap actually get out and make progress. And then of the other credits, we also would highly recommend that students start on a career pathway, and I heard a bit about that already. So there are questions about these principles or comments about this? The work-based learning piece, I think, is going to be a huge challenge for you all to put in place, and we'll have to figure that one out. Okay, so I think it would be useful to talk about what you see as the major challenges and barriers to designing these 9 through 14 pathways that do have, let's just say, between 8 and 12 college credits. So what would be either in the legislation or in funding or, yeah, go ahead.
One of the, I'm from the current high school district, and we work a lot with Bakersfield College, and they have openly said that the new administration up there really wants to start dual enrollment programs with us, which is great. But one of the barriers we face, and the superintendency is concerned about, is with dual enrollment that's offered at the high school, you have to open that class up to the public as well. And so you've kind of got some liability issues with adults potentially coming onto the high school campus and taking those classes. So I'd be curious to know if anyone who has those programs established, how you've gotten around that or what you've done. I don't know how much in the room experience we have with that.
Yeah, Crystal, you know the history of that? That seems really peculiar to me.
It's in state law.
Yeah, I know it's in
Yeah.
state law.
It's not peculiar to dual enrollment, it's simply for the college to claim funding
Oh, I
credit.
see.
Any
Yeah.
course that it offers has to be open.
Right.
I
So it has to do with their FTEs that they.
I see, okay. So experience with this as a barrier or a way to, a workaround, yeah.
We've offered courses, we used to, I'm from Woodlake High School, Arnita Bingham, my head counselor at Woodlake. We had evening classes that they would come out, a professor from CLS would come out and teach, but it was only in the evenings. So it wouldn't interfere, I don't know if that's an option, it's not during the school hours, so that was an option.
When you worry about liability issues, what is it that you're concerned?
Well, they're concerned that, any adult could, because these classes would be offered during the regular school day, so we would have to, if we had adults sign up, we would have to open up our schools to these adults to come onto the campus and take the class.
Safety.
Yeah, just the safety issues, exactly.
Yeah.
I think the other challenge sometimes is just if you allow a community college professor to come onto the high secondary site to teach, it becomes a bargaining unit. Your contracts with your teachers that throws red flags that someone's coming, if there's something to do with school facilities, and then your bargaining unit throws red flags that you're supplanting a section that they should be teaching, and it rolls into other issues.
Okay, so on the safety issues, that's a new one, and I'm not quite sure how you solve it. Somebody, I thought, said this morning they were using a separate facility.
Yeah, I heard that,
Yeah, which is maybe not so available for everyone else. I mean, there's a plus side to it, because if you have, if you're in Massachusetts, one of our high schools has really become a satellite of the community college, which is great because it is a nice building and the community college didn't have space. So the students in the high school students are getting the opportunity to sit with a bunch of college students, and that enriches their experience because they're with a multi-generational group of students. So let's stick, any more issues around this open to the public?
Not an issue, but a way that we've managed to kind of navigate that issue is we do some online courses and we partner with our high schools. And so we'll offer an online course that's taught by one of our instructors, but oftentimes at the high school they have a teacher that's basically overseeing that course that connects with our full-time faculty member.
Yeah.
And that course does have, if we've got 40 in an online class, maybe 25 of them are high school, the other 15 are the general public, because it is open to everybody.
Yeah.
But we do the timing on registration so that they're able to get in, and there's still potential issues there, I guess, like there's potential issues in timing in the mixed populations, but it seems to work pretty well as a model so far.
Good. One more back there? Yeah.
We have a regional occupation
Say who you
program.
are.
I'm E.J. Rossi, principal of Tasker High School, and we have a regional occupation program, and so we'll have adults come into our campuses, but as long as we have a certificated staff they're supervising it and they're not left alone with kids, then it's like taking them on a field trip.
So that looks like one where there's some workarounds possible. So let's talk about, there were some other hands up about other barriers that you see to doing these dual enrollment pathways. Yeah.
The community college seems to be not as clear about the guidelines around it. Even though we have a program in place, the question constantly comes back up, are we doing this by the book? And I am wondering from the state level, if this is what we want to see happen, why aren't we putting some really clear language around it that we all can understand between the community college as well as the high school system? So I'm wondering why that is.
Yeah. So the legislation, I know a lot of the legislation all across the country. California's legislation is pretty reasonable with a couple of exceptions. One is this issue of seat time, which makes it very complicated. I mean, it's a sort of silly issue, but if you have to have seat time every day and the college course is 3 days a week, it's very hard to claim the FTE and the ABA. That's something that I think should be fixable. I mean, if there were minutes per week and they were flexible, it would make life easier. The second one is the cap of 11 units, and the third one is the cap on summer dual enrollment, because summer dual enrollment is a great way for students to get an intensive college experience. But otherwise, the legislation looks pretty good to me. The issue is, and I'd love to hear what the community college folks have to say about it, I think because this is such a local control culture, community colleges are adding a whole set of sometimes reasonable and sometimes unreasonable new issues that people have to deal with. But with a cooperative community college who sees these students coming in without needs for remediation and with a commitment to a pathway, in general, it's interesting, the data across the country on dual enrollment students, and I will say more about this in a minute, is they in generally do better than the adult students in terms of sticking with a course, grade point average, and completing. And we know from years of experience with early college that a lot of kids don't even want their college instructors, if they're on campus, to know that they're high school students. So I don't want to put the community colleges on the spot, but I would love to hear your thoughts about what you see as the barriers and constraints you face. Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to have trouble getting to 12 credits. I mean, in many cases, we're lucky if we can get faculty to agree to articulate one course.
And what's the problem? When you say articulate one course, what do you mean?
As counting towards college credit towards a career pathway.
But what is it that they find difficult?
I think they just believe that the instruction that takes place at the high school level is not equivalent to what they're doing at the community college level. It's kind of the same response we get when we ask for your colleges to accept.
Good point. Everybody likes to look down at the level, the prior level, and say they're not doing it well enough. And do you have college instructors who go to high schools?
Typically none.
No. And so you're dealing with high school faculty who you've approved, who meet your qualifications, and your faculty don't think, even though they meet your qualifications, they're up to standard.
Well, historically, those agreements have been done on a course-by-course or teacher-to-teacher basis, and we're trying to broaden that, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, that seems to be a big issue, and it came up yesterday as well. You're never going to get where you need to go if every course that you want to teach needs to be signed off by an individual instructor. There has to be an MOU, an agreement about a whole set of courses that can go on. They need to be reviewed and evaluated periodically. You need to make sure that the final exams are the same final exams that are given on campus, but you won't get where you need to go if it's course by course approval, and each faculty member has a veto. Yeah.
I think like someone said earlier, it's going to depend on the relationship you have with your community college. It's all going to be a little bit different. So for us, we're doing a movement called Closing the Gap, where we brought our English teachers together from the community college and the high school, and now that trust has been built. We've had some really good results from that. But until it gets legislated, there's just so much freedom. So for an example of something that's worked, or is working, SB 1440 required us to create transfer degrees, required us to have a course identification number that would go from community college to community college, and required the CSU to accept our students if they completed a transfer degree. So we're in the process now of converting all of our degrees into transfer degrees. So because it was legislated, we've been trying to do that independently for I don't know how long, but now it's happening. And it seems like that same kind of legislation needs to be put in place between the community college and the K-12 system. So we still have some options, but there's some things in there that need to be, more systemic.
Chris, any point you want to jump in?
One thing I'd suggest, particularly in this region, because of the work of the C6 and the Central Valley Higher Ed Consortia, is use data in this regard. Right? So, 10, 15 years ago, it almost had to be about the college instructor looking at the syllabus and then the exam or whatever. It doesn't have to be that way anymore. To the extent to which your college and your high school are in one of those consortia or in CalPass Plus, the ability to say, okay, we'll do we did the syllabus thing for a little while, but now let's track. Let's see who students, how they're actually doing, right? So rather than having to a priori look at each course and the structure and have the teachers meet and all of that, is just say, look, we'll give your community college, give the high school the leeway to do this, and we're gonna see how your students perform. And so if they complete a first level math course, college level math course at your high school, and then they arrive and none of them pass the second level math course, we got a problem. If they're all passing the second level math course at a higher rates than our native students were, then we don't need to see your syllabus. We do need to see it so we can learn from you, right? So the approaches that we have taken around sort of very much meshed in each other's business can, particularly in this region, because of the large amount of trust building and data sharing that's been occurring, convert to more of a trust but verify approach.
I think that's one useful thought. The second is that I think it sounds like, with one or two exceptions, I think yours is, that there are not career pathways that are articulated from 9th grade through the degree with all of the courses laid out. If you flip through toward the back of your, so if you start looking at, I just put in a couple of examples of aligned programs that go all the way through from high school through an AA degree. This happens to be pathway options for registered nurse at Bunker Hill Community College. And you can see that the dual enrollment courses, the whole curriculum is laid out. And I would urge you that whether you get there in a partnership agreement with your community college or not, it seems to me that's what you want to do, is lay out what a whole pathway would look like that ends either in a certificate or an associate degree, and then go to your community college and say, we have a much bigger ask, and we really want to see what it would take to get this whole pathway certified, and that our students would then need priority. If they arrive with X courses done at a reasonable academic level, they should have priority to move through. This is just an example of the kind of planning that we're doing. This is again, this is just showing you the various options for kind of stackable credentials in the health field. And this is work that's going on in Massachusetts. Similarly here, pathways options that show there will be a set of courses starting in 9th grade that fill out each of these. And then this is an IT STEM school. JFF is working on 6 STEM schools in Chicago that go through an associate degree as well. And this just shows you how the whole pathway looks laid out. And I urge you to look at that kind of design, even if you can't build the whole thing in. So other barriers. Oh, I want to come back to the union issue. Is it imagined, or have you really had this problem? Because we thought we would have, when we started doing this work 10 years ago, a lot of problems. We work in many unionized states. And we really haven't had that much of the pushback from the union. First of all, in Massachusetts, it's all the same union, for example. It's either the NEA or the AFT that's both high school and community college. But, so I don't want to put you on the spot, but have you had grievances or just anticipated problems?
This was a discussion that came up several years ago, and I suspect it's a discussion that has a weight that depends on the context. So if you're pink slipping teachers and you're in a place of reduction and you're proposing bringing on professors, that's going to be an issue. Where if you're in a state of growth and we're buying preps all over the place and that it might be perceived differently, that discussion is several years old, and at that time, it was not something that district level leadership was willing to consider for that reason.
Yeah. Anyone else with observations about how to work this with a union or who has had issues? Nothing?
That issue comes up in our district every year.
And?
A lot of it stems around CTE credentials. Okay, which is not, they don't have to do this, they don't have to do that. And if they teach an IT class, okay, then one of our teachers, or one of our business teachers are going to use a particular section. So, but, as long as, I was brought up annually at a board meeting, and the board of trustees say, do they want to take that on or not?
Yeah.
And if they say, no, we're not going to take it on, then it stops. They say, hey, it doesn't matter, let's move forward. And it goes forward.
The one thing I would say is if you're going to do planning, I would get the union at the table when you begin, rather than after there's a complaint. What we've seen, one thing that we've seen, at least around high school teachers, it's not exactly a union issue, but that they really like the fact that if they have the credentials, they can become college adjuncts, because it's a very nice thing for them to be able to teach a college course during school hours. It's like teaching an AP course. So from the high school perspective, it's generally a plus to be able to do dual enrollment, and it also means if they meet the college standards and the college needs an adjunct for an on-campus course, that they could be eligible. On the post-secondary side, I will say it often takes some convincing for the faculty, because they feel like they have troubles enough with underprepared students, and now they're going to get younger ones. And that is just something that you've got to get over, and I can tell you, you could use data to show them that in general, the younger students are more serious and more interested in behaving like good college students than some of the college students are, but it's a hurdle to get over. Okay, other barriers around doing dual enrollment? So one question I have is, anyone teaching college math in their high school at this point? Okay.
So California has a program between the CSU and the UCs, the early admission assessment. So the ERWC has a math component that people can offer in their curriculum. And there isn't been as much in math as there's been in language arts, because we were dependent on 2 professors at Fresno State being the co-trainers. And so now the county office of ed has gotten permission that our math staff can do the training for the teachers. So that is available now to folks as we go forward. But the shift is going to be, you're not required to give the standards test this year in our transition. So if you still want your students to participate, you still have to give the standards test to that junior class, so that you can have those 2 math and the English language arts available for those 12th graders.
I should say, you probably don't know this or well feel it the way we do, but you've been given a big gift on the Common Core and the new standards, with some real common sense in this state that is not prevailing in other states. So a lot of the states are moving very fast toward using test scores for teacher evaluation, at the same time as we're putting in place the new Common Core standards, which are likely to decrease success on tests. So there's small things to be grateful for, but that's one of them. So does everybody know what the early assessment program is? And do you want to say a word more about what the course is and what happens when you pass it?
It's part of the SB or AB 1440, this whole idea that we've got to have transferable courses between community college and 4 years and amongst each other, and having a set number of credits for bachelor's degrees in our state as well, so that you're not fluctuating between the 23 campuses. So they created a course, the CSU faculty created a course for the English language arts piece and a course for math. And if your students don't score as being ready and proficient for college, English or math, and your school chooses to implement those math or English courses in their senior year, and the students take them and earn a C or better, they don't have to retake the placement test and do remediation when they attend a CSU or UC or community college campus.
Yeah, and is the curriculum for the course open source and readily available?
Yeah,
We have to be trained.
We have teachers that have been trained, but what we were told from Fresno State just this year, because we had a misconception that anybody who was either scored or not ready or conditionally ready that passed with the C or better would then not have to take the placement. However, this year, this year's our graduating seniors from 2013, that actually passed the ERWC course, because it's our second year teaching it or offering it. Only the conditional students that passed ERWC with a C or better were the ones that were exempt. Those that were not yet ready, even if they took the course and passed it with a C or better, still had to take the placement test. So that was something that I learned this summer.
I don't think I understood what you said.
So you have the 3 levels that you score on the EAP, right?
Yeah, so there's C or better.
No, there's the not yet ready, the conditionally ready, and the ready.
I see.
And so only the conditionally ready are the ones getting exempt from having to take the ELA placement test. Not which is very different from what I initially understood at the beginning of last year when we implemented the course.
And is that state policy or institution policy?
I don't know if it's institution, that's a good question.
It's a policy with the CSU, UC.
Okay. Okay. So a lot to figure out here. Anything else on barriers or design issues? Yeah.
Work-based learning.
Okay, I was afraid we'd get there. That's the next challenge.
Yeah, I know you want to get there. You know, we look at various pathways, and some, for certain regions, have certain industry sectors that are very strong and viable, and there's a lot of options. You know, engineering in our area,
Where
in Tulare County.
Yeah.
You know, I know 7 engineers. That's all I know of. You know, it's just not something that's real common. You know, you're not going to find certain pathways, architecture, engineering. Those are more metropolitan. Anything to do with ag and those kind of things, yeah, we've got tons of those. But
So, as we think about the pathways work, and I'm not again speaking for the RFA, the regional strategy is to begins with a look at real-time labor market information that will tell you what are the sectors where there are pathways to employment. And if you're thinking regionally, I don't think it makes a lot of sense to develop a pathway in an area where there are jobs. So at least I would start by thinking about and getting the information, whether it's from the community college website, from your local community development agency, or your chamber of commerce, that gives you a good sense of what are the 2 or 3 big categories in which occupations are likely to grow. Here I heard a lot about agriculture, and like hospitals, you know, we think of hospitals as having medical jobs, but in fact, as someone said yesterday, a hospital is a whole universe of jobs. So I think when you think about this, if you look at the agriculture industry, there are multiple kinds of jobs within it. An IT pathway, of which we have far too few in this country that go from high school through post-secondary, is probably going to be helpful to a student because almost every industry is what we call IT enabled. So I mean, my answer to your question is, while there may be a disconnect between what you think students want in the labor market, I'd go with the labor market. Yeah. There was another question about work-based learning? Yeah.
No, work-based
that's
learning,
okay.
just the constraints, I think for us, and I work in Fresno Unified School District, it's master schedule. So it's actually the implementation, having the depth and breadth of courses available for a myriad of students.
Yeah.
Building that into your master's schedule.
Yep. I have some nifty memos on how to do the master's schedule, which I probably could make available, but that's a very concrete issue, and it depends on whether you have do you have block scheduling?
So we have 7 comprehensive high schools, so some of them, yes, some of them no.
No, yeah. So when somebody said, maybe not today, yesterday, this kind of pathways development requires major rethinking, not tinkering at the edges. Schedule is a huge part of it, and I mean, the issue of the seat time and the disconnect between college courses and high school courses is only one symbol of what really needs to be rethought. And I'm not going to be reading proposals, but I would urge you to do what your vision is about and say, here are some constraints and we're going to work through them, rather than saying we can't meet this vision because we can't redo the schedule. Okay, I am going to do one quick thing here, which is really just go over with you a little bit of data. So, as I said, what you are about to do, if you're going to really work on an integrated pathway with, say, 6 or 9 college credits, is a version of early college or concurrent enrollment, but in a pretty structured way. And one of the things that you may need to do is say what, or maybe asking yourself at this point, is what's the data that justifies this as a strategy for getting young people through to a career credential? I'm going to just show you a little bit of data because my organization, as I said, we were the intermediary for the Gates Foundation, initial investment in early college, and we have about 100,000 students now in early college in about 300 schools that were in the initial investment. And as I learned this morning, there are a number of early colleges here in California that started without Gates funding or any philanthropic investment, but are still doing an integrated pathway. So if you want just a little look at some data, we've been following a bunch of students in a student information system, and so it's a quite big sample, certainly what you would call a proof point if you were writing a proposal and you wanted to say, we think it's a good bet that providing structured supports for dual enrollment will get you higher completion rates and more investment in career pathways. So this is just a little bit about what we know. Bob mentioned some of this morning. So high school graduation rate is 92%, which is very high for the demographic, which is largely, it's a majority students of color across the 9,000 sample students that we've been following, and it's majority low income. The college enrollment rate is about 86%, which again is higher than the national average and substantially higher for this demographic group. Interesting, the average student graduates from high school with about a year of college credit. So in a lot of states, and the states that have the most early colleges are North Carolina, and California's up there, Texas, North Carolina and Texas the most, Ohio. They've managed to figure out with probably more aggressive and more favorable legislation than you have here, how to get students a year of college. Some of them, Texas for example, says every high school has to make available 12 college credits. And then about a quarter of the students are graduating high school with an associate's degree. So this is pretty robust data for a rather large cohort of students. And then finally, these are some comparative data that look at this both in relation to all students and in relation to the demographics. So early college students are enrolling in college immediately after high school, so no gap year at about 78%. The national average is around 70, 69, 70, and for this demographic around 55. I give you this data because when you're writing grant applications, we are always asked, okay, so what makes you believe that you're going to get the result that you want? And so we've been relying on this data, as well as if you looked at the early college website, you'd find there are a few rigorous studies of dual enrollment, one from Florida, one from the CUNY system, and some more recent ones around CTE course taking in dual enrollment programs that come out from the National Center for Education Statistics. So if you're needing data, that's what I would suggest. So that's about it for the things I want to talk about. I'd be more than happy to entertain questions, have you ask each other for contact information, anything else that's on your mind here that would be useful.
Questions, comments?
Yeah.
I often get in trouble in groups, and I might as well do it here as well.
We would love to get in a little trouble.
Because I always struggle with this concept of focusing on college admission. Because number one, our system doesn't have the capacity to send every student to college. And nor I think realistically do we expect every student to want to go to college. And so for us, it's always been focusing on the career piece just as much as the college. And it's my goal that when we put kids through the system, when they graduate, it's their choice. Whether they're prepared to go to college, but it's their choice. And I always struggle with programs like this that are solely focused on getting kids to college. I mean, Avid does a tremendous job of preparing kids, but again, I struggle with Avid because all it is, its whole purpose is to get kids into college, and there's zero career component, there's zero career preparation, it's all about preparing you for college. And so, we haven't done this, but I guess, and again, it's just my philosophy, I'm encouraged to always try to keep that career component part of that college discussion, because it should be the student's choice. And employers want kids that are prepared for college just as much as college want kids that are prepared for college.
So let me just respond for a minute, because I hope we haven't been unclear. So the Pathways to Prosperity approach is around careers, and it's really focused on 2-year or credentials or certificates. I think that we believe that almost everybody should get some post-secondary education. And if it's a career certificate that you get in high school, but that is viable in the labor market, I would count that. Where I think there has been a disconnect in this country is that we say college and we think everybody needs an academic pathway to a 4-year degree. Now, that's not to say that there aren't some young people who at 18 are going to go to work and flourish, and we wish them the best. But in terms of the message, at least that we want to give, you and I may disagree, it's everyone needs a post-secondary credential of some kind or some form of career preparation. We know, of course, that we see it all the time. There's some young people that go into a family business, for example, at 18, and who've learned, from their working next to their dad or their mother, automotive or carpentry or plumbing or some other trade. I would never say that's a bad idea. But I would say, if I were giving advice to a young person today, and that's our philosophy, may differ for you, that you need some kind of something beyond high school. It's tough going out there with a high school degree. Other thoughts? I'm happy to hear other points of view, support for this position, worries about all of this. So, yeah.
I'll bring up one.
Yeah, okay.
I'm in administration now, but I taught for 27 years, and you talk to kids, and what do you want to do? I don't know, what makes a lot of money?
Yeah.
And, they get on this website, and they're going to see what is the highest salary, or what's the fastest, what can I do in a year, or whatever. And whether they like it or don't like it, or they have an aptitude for that, and they're young.
Yeah.
I can remember being in 8th grade, and my 8th grade teachers, we did a career unit, what do you want to be, what do you want to do? And, you know, half the boys want to be professional athletes or
Right. And the girls wanna be
pilots or something. Yeah,
cosmetologists.
yeah. And so that's my fear is sometimes they haven't found their way yet, and they're making a decision, and not that they can't change.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've come to believe that, that people do change careers, probably 4 times in a lifetime, or something like the statistic for Americans now. And I mean, I've thought a lot about this, and perhaps because I saw what was going on in Europe, I've come to believe that knowing something in depth and knowing what working is about, whatever the thing is that you're doing, is really important. And that we don't want the skills so narrow. Yeah, we're just about ready. You don't want the skills so narrow that that's the only thing you can do. They have to be in the liberal arts or academic context. But I've come to believe that it's just not healthy to do what we do in this country, which is, given the youth unemployment numbers you saw, not to help young people get some kind of work experience and test their expertise. I mean, the Europeans say, so what if all you learned is that you don't want to be a machinist, you don't want to be a machinist, or you don't want to be a IT help desk support person? That's a useful decision, and you at least know how to make a better one. So on that cheerful note, thank you all for your attention, and